Alright, 항상 초신 startup제야 초신이야 저기 차차와다 최고부 이게 나네다 그래서 다 차차와 차징도 최고부 얘기 하는 거는 막도 쉬고로와 내자당은 저기 최고부에디 아질레 저기 초신기 라마 디겔이야 안에 대바지지도 제다 안에 구성도기 연된 전벽권에 대바체 안에 랑리아 최된배 그진 친구인 배선에 그진 지수 전배 돈에 안델리아가 저기다 도시네 안에 조부야디야 군노 샘제 탐지기 되는 산요고 본토야 대안에 교보교보 뉴르뉴르 세델리아 산요고 본토야게 된다라 안에 조부야 가스네 산요고 본토와라 손님이 좋다 이시 좋니 네 다른 거 봐인자 다 손님이 좋아서고 와다가 조부야 돼 디고를 마도 쉬어야 돼.
Good evening. So we're looking at the Lama Chöpa practice, and we are at the stage where, having generated the required motivation, we have also visualized the merit field before ourselves, and having recalled the many great qualities of our Lama, as well as his kindness and the benefit he brings to us, and thereby generating a powerful and intense faith, we have offered prostrations, the first of the 7 limbs, and now we are on the second, that of making offerings. And we're making offerings with this mind of faith present, as well as with a motivation to become a Buddha within this very lifetime, for the sake of others. And in order to become a Buddha, we need to accumulate the 2 accumulations of merit and wisdom, and to do so, we've already offered prostration and now are making offerings to the Lama and merit field.
Panchen Rinpoche 지고고와 Panchen Rinpoche 마셔봐 산요고바토에 메르바다 산요고바 토예게 된다라 냠렌지에 조디 군노디 심제 탐주 산요고바 토부도 선비게 군노디시 디 토예게 된다라 내가 냠렌지에 가르치는 Panchen Rinpoche 다 Panchen Rinpoche 다 진비 냠레 다디 진비 냠레 조 동회 심바 자야되로 동회 심바 특히 류롱주 계속다 좀 가리네야 권줄이야 표현 시한을 봐 당긴 선비게 동회 선바 자야되 책으로 디네자당 하들이야 대 소신이야 대바 제주도 전에 구성도 유연된 전비토네 나가지고다 대리야 초피야 될래 아니 추다 매도다 아니 지게 지샤 매도 두배 마메티 아니 어디서 디바도 부에 제조로모 네 주위에 나네 땅아주게다 디 매도다 아니 디 바도 디 부차제 다딘마 로모 부야데 제제 부야데기 말하데 딘마 고주고 제제 디네자 디디기 부야게 삼르자데 조진의 진비 냠랭기 냠랭 디야 차고래 동회세 바정고 부야 부고 베스 즉 야치 부주 섬도 부고에 베게스 삼단데 동회세 바정고로와
To attain Buddhahood, the motivation of bodhicitta is indispensable, because it is the motivation of bodhicitta which sets one's determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others. But merely or only having such a motivation, no matter how powerful, that motivation alone will not lead to the attainment of the desired result of Buddhahood. One needs to engage in various practices or trainings, in particular the 6 perfections. So to attain Buddhahood, one needs a motivation of bodhicitta and needs to engage in the trainings of the 6 perfections. And amongst the 6 perfections, the very first is that of generosity. And generosity as its entity or its definition, the cultivation of the mind wanting to give. Or to express it slightly differently, the mind that wants to give whatever one can in order to benefit others. So here, as in our context, as part of our training in generosity, one offers the specific substances of water, flowers, incense, light, and perfume, and those we looked at last week. And now we'll come to the remaining ones of food and music, remaining amongst the outer offerings. So here, this practice we're looking at now is the practice of training of generosity or training in generosity, and done conjoined with a motivation of bodhicitta, it becomes a training in the perfection of generosity.
Ane jambegi ya kebyu digi diyu sambi jambegi zinje an delia zechu samda dine puyegi chebe ze digi ya samda delia an puyegi ga luchene mabachi puyegi orwa yu di puyse yudu choshin dili che samlo karado choshin dili puyegi yu sambi choshin dili samlo de zechu samdang mado shandal samdang go ma zechu samdang 안 소신들의 부유였으면 잼비지 소신들이 부세게 소신들이 되어 선비가 삼지는 잼비지 안델에 제주도 삼다지 않은 아주 취비 제디야 부유어와 되니기 부유도 갑라 지나 된도 지디 델양 아주 신이 뭐냐라 되게요 말데 이내야 아주기 띵인신 주비에게 신에게 냠는 지에게 안 되네 냠는래 누구로 봐 가서는 유미버디 소신들의 제주도 삼다. 되는 잼비기 진제, 잼비기 들려 진제는 도시는 부여변자 다들이야. 아니 아주 띵이지 냠는 디야 두고래.
So here, not only are we engaging in the practice of generosity, but we also are cultivating our mental factor of stabilization, which is what we will eventually develop into single-pointed concentration. So the mental factor of stabilization we all have, when it's fully developed, or when it's developed so that it becomes very powerful and very stable, it becomes the mind of single-pointed concentration. Here, we're using this mental factor or this consciousness of stabilization as well as that of mindfulness to hold in mind the visualization of the merit field, which is the object to whom we are making these offerings. So we hold that in mind single-pointedly, as well as having this the motivating consciousness present, and then we engage in the practice of offering the varying substances. So here, not only are we training in the practice of generosity, but we are also cultivating our consciousnesses or our mental factors of mindfulness and stabilization, which aids our later attainment of single-pointed concentration or calm abiding.
지다 잠바다 시신이做电节呢这些年主国了今年在的安住点了这个教育了啥的点了这个准备给怕经济把准备的教育的啊准备准备经按确保的普个是备准备经济普个了那西新的安住三路现在当下了改过了全部大马去吧去变成安住本家的康巴的去了个三路两个的三路马大去的那个三路大马去吧怕도시의 시신이 있다네 아니 봐 지치면서 내가 저 뭐바나 띵이 준 주비게 신년 주비에게 냠는 라야 안직 될이야 안직 누가 찾던 거로 아주 전 시신 때야지 직때 그 검시 마선의 수고로 받을이야
In the training to cultivate calm abiding, the primary mental factors or consciousnesses that one utilizes are those of mindfulness and introspection, or mindfulness and vigilance. These are the primary mental factors that one utilizes. And one utilizes them here in this very practice of making offerings. Mindfulness, which more literally can be translated as recollection, it serves to recall the object that one is holding, in this case the merit field. And introspection is the mind that, the consciousness that is aware of whether one has lost the object of one's mindfulness or not, if one is becoming distracted or not. It's introspection that recognizes this. So these two mental factors, through this practice of generosity, are being utilized and trained and developed, as well as the previous mentioned stabilization as well, the actual mental factor that becomes calm abiding. So that factor, mental factor, as well as mindfulness and introspection, both are being strengthened in this practice.
Lama di Choshen Chasalia, Deba Zechidu Jeje, and de debut Choshen Nabu Kusung Tusi, Yundin Je, Dele Yundin da Dene, Deba Jeje, Pugorwa, Pubenza, Digi, Shula, Karimosong to Kusung to Yundin, Dele Deba Zechidu Jeje, and Jiki Puyon de Kabla Samlo di Kyodu, Shula Karimosana, Lamalia Gyunje, Anjiki Garsore. Gyan Dayada, the next Samotiki, Rashingi Park, Gagorova, Sungorova. Cisadelia, also made the Gyunji Mess and began some Sum Menadele Shula and Sutimti, Sutimi Yamedele Pingo, Shuk Ligore, Cisenza, Dina de Dus Yamneche, Sutim Yamne Pingore.
As I mentioned earlier, we are making offerings to our Lama in the merit field. And we have not only, when we generated the visualization of the merit field, we then also recalled the many qualities of our Lama, of his body, speech, and mind, as well as his tremendous kindness that he's shown us and the benefit he brings into our life. And with such a recollection or an attitude having been generated, we had previously made offerings, and we made prostrations, and now we're making offerings. So here, whilst in the cultivation of the recollection of the qualities and kindness of one's Lama, explicitly we are recalling those the qualities and kindness, but implicitly one is stopping the critical mind, the mind that looks at faults and focuses and concentrates on faults. So in this way, by recalling the qualities and kindness of the Lama and indirectly stopping the critical mind, or the criticizing mind rather, the mind that criticizes, this aids our ethical restraint, another of the perfections.
And the Nigan Geshe Thubten Rabten, and the Galos and Semnalabia, Bechike. Ya Gashin, Galana, Shin, Beachuns, and Galana, the Nig Puya Ravadi, and Beapures, Galana, Chin, and the Common to be Puyo Benza, Della, and the Junjiganium Ligore, and the Subinium Ligore, and Delia, and the Costandu Lenge, so Dandulin Pua, Dandu Lingorva, the Handus and the Guns and the teachings and the Dandulin Basurua, just like Kura di Jawar, the Gamata, and the Sosoranang, Dandulin, Ichis, and Dandulin Puza, Jesadelia. Kale adedi jinga kale khasara diji nyobdo chasa sambi samlo di pham kagor wa jisa down to linguza down to limpu banza and delia anjik so sebenyam le ligor wa jisa dunga down to limpa sia da dinigi that's all in the skanga de kangbandagre anjiji says dinigi anjik duse koru sambe sam meba che dus che pu ba ta ko down to limpa liyoza and sebenyam le ligor zunjiyam le that ne dugu pingor de ja.
Of the primary trainings of a bodhisattva, we've made reference to concentration, to generosity, to ethical restraint. And also the trainings of joyous perseverance and patience are also strengthened through this practice, in that when engaging in Dharma, many internal and sometimes external obstacles arise, such as, for example, I don't feel like doing this practice today, I just feel like relaxing. But here, one rather is patient and transforms such obstacles and thereby continues to engage in the practice. And this way one is patient whilst practicing the Dharma. Moreover, one generates joy in this practice, joy in, for example, making offerings. And this serves to strengthen our patience in that we are delighting in what we are doing. So in these ways, these additional trainings of a bodhisattva, joyous perseverance and patience, are also strengthened.
당한주 되니게 부디 갑려야 아는 아주게 가르삼당 거라서 내가 저 피에게 유 소신되게 이내야 그 시행실에 뛰는 주방마다 갈라에 맞도 랑응원이 주바지요 말해서 삼마다 랑기 피에게 제 최비 제되게 이내야 고라신이 맞주바 삼다야 지한주 뛰는 주방마다 갈려 바샤바 맞도 랑응원이 주도 의미 삼비 되네 아는 아주게 제가 피에게 가사 코를 소소이네 랑원의 주도의 메디가 라싱을 두비 동바삼다. 나 라바도 가서 디가서 다디가 라마 쳬바가 셔야디 제디 피엘라 차상 당보 가서 동반이 삼다 동반이 겁네 동반이 두비고 로이 임바질라 오 아니 제소소라 나바 된샤바디 진짜 삼다 피고로 진짜 되네자 동반이 삼던 거 검고 리고래 진짜 셔라게 냠네 리고래 진짜 되네 삼다도 지나가도 되네 삼제 제도 야고 제 삼다지 된바이나 가도 냠네 삼다도 전에 최고해야 되기도 제 삼다야도 되네 파신 주거기 냠네 냠들리 가서 최고래.
Amongst the six perfections, the actual trainings of a bodhisattva, we've seen how here in the practice of making offerings, we are cultivating and strengthening, mentioned the perfections of concentration, generosity, ethical restraint, and I've just mentioned now, patience and joyous perseverance. That just leaves the sixth one of wisdom. Wisdom is a key mind in practices such as this. It needs to be present throughout. So this particular part, the role of wisdom is to recall the emptiness of the three spheres. In other words, or in this case, the beings being offered to, or the object being offered to, the merit field, is empty of inherent existence. The offering substances, the objects being offered, are empty of inherent existence, and oneself, the practitioner, the one who's making the offering, is also empty of inherent existence. And this is not something we're now just thinking of. We have thought about the emptiness of these varying objects throughout. For example, because everything in this practice we need to be doing conjoined with the wisdom understanding emptiness. So, for example, the cultivation of the merit field arose from emptiness, from the wisdom realizing emptiness. So too, the offering substances, they too arose from our wisdom understanding emptiness. And earlier in the training, we also dissolved ourselves into emptiness and arose again in the form of a deity from our understanding of emptiness. So therefore, the emptiness of the three spheres, this understanding should be ever present in the practice.
Sambe tenso dan juwe tenso se niro sambe tenso dan juwe tenso ke wishin tenso de la kunyam nan che de la jisa sambe tenso se de la me ku song tu gi yuen dian chan de la ma le de ba che le de ba cha de suwa de ba cha de suwa dan juwe tenso se de ke wishin tenso de ani ya ani la ma ya ning gu shu ya dan ani jin de chen ani je tenso de suwa de ne za da de 디인자 다데가도 텔리아 라마 쳬비 갑라 이니 다디데 쳬고푸에 냠네 치두 갑라 아니 가서 초신게 랑게 라마디 야 초신리 바사 답된 바 안지 야라 데바 제지도 제제 라미게 남구송도 연대는 데바제 라미게 랑라 게든면 게든 제수 쳬바지 공명도 디위 신인 된수기 냠네 제루고래 안데데가도 텔리아 쳬고푸에게 지기 초신자 쳬고푸에게 두친 푸기베 세메담데데 안데 대지 데바자디 대바체 주제디 삼비 텐수 차기도와 안다데딩 아주 최고 부여야디 두치 부여디기 안 조위 텐수 차기도와 조위 텐스는 라마리아 최고 부여다 연구시에들어와 제사 다데딩 아주 두치도 삼당에도 제사 델리아 라마 쳬바 또 부이초 부이체 되네게 델리아 안 최고 부디 네 델리아네 즉 라미 구송 두기 연된 대표 대바치 주제바 인자 기위 신인 된수나네 삼비 된수디 주고래 차고래 안에데네 아주 즉 초바디게 개첨보디게도 저 삼다 부여도 라마의 조회팀비 시위 된수대로 저서 람림이 냠는 제반 신인 된수디 냠는 제다디한 디가서 주고래다
If you recall your teachings that you've received on the Lama chapter on relying on the spiritual teacher, there it's presented near the end of the presentation that one needs to rely on one's teacher through body, speech, and mind, or to express it differently, through behavior, speech, and thought. And here in this practice, all three of those are being fulfilled. In terms of thought, one has already recalled the tremendous qualities that our Lama has and the kindness and benefit that he brings into our lives. So this is how we rely on him in thought. And in terms of speech, through the recitation of verses such as those on prostration, we are praising his many qualities. And then in terms of relying in terms of behavior, here we are making offerings in this part of the practice. And this is now the third way that we are fulfilling the training in relying on a spiritual teacher. And so all three are fulfilled. Those of relying through thought, through speech, and through behavior.
lamrim nyamne sia da Lama Chöpa nyamne jige sia da lamrim nyamne le lo so de chego ma ko din jikko jigba charo nyamne jidan jibare.
I mention this because it's important to be really clear how this practice is entirely in accordance with what is presented in the Lamrim.
Andine da denege dan ko nyang chi Lama Chöpa tinga chi du ga yang chi samlo ra chi ma da wa jan chi ma duen che ma chi ma duen chi gyor cho sha ba na sam ma da ba na den yang chi ge de shin na shin don da de ge da da li ma ro da.
And it's we're going through these verses slowly because I want you to all have a good understanding of this practice, because it's all too easy to come along and recite, but without much mental engagement. And then the actual meaning is not being fulfilled. Certainly the purpose of this practice is not being fulfilled. So therefore it's important to engage as much as one can and engage in the correct manner with the meaning of the text. And in this way, one fulfills its purpose. Last week we started looking at the outer offerings. So we looked at verses 23 to 28. So we've looked at offering of the waters, flowers, incense, lamps, and perfume. And now we're going to start verse 29, the offering of food. In verse 29, delicacies of gods and men, drink and nourishing food of 100 flavors, and mass like Mount Meru.
Sawa setting as it is Sivino Catholic Sawana, Nancy Rosia, the Denege road, Shimba Druxia, Dinashim, Denege Rodilia, Chigroja, Denege Demat, they are Direliantic Druts in the Denation, the Jatamazia, the Tudor, the Dondala, the road Duch and Rochasan, on the Puege, Share Puege, Delia, and the rope, Chasan sound by him, but the anti road ball, mirror, what's in the road gas you have a chair, road gas, the mirror road, Kalamason, draw water, draw mirror, road gas you have a chair, and the Judah temper, Jewish waiting, and Jew make your royal way, and Jew make your color, Jew make your young right, they may have a Jew waiting, road gas temper, and Judah temper as well. So
first, just as the translator, to correct myself, as I said, we're offering food. Actually, what is being offered rather than food is the offering of taste. And thus we see in the food in the verse, delicacies of gods and men drink a nourishing food of 100 flavors amass like Mount Meru. What's being offered are these, as you have flavors or varying tastes. Normally we talk about food that is sweet, sour, and bitter. And through varying combinations, one can have hundreds of flavors. So here we imagine a wide variety of flavors or tastes of food being offered. And not only is the taste delicious, but it is nutritious as well. This is what is being offered.
Denigi da Puja roja da tempa, and the Juda tempa de la Carriers and Saja Tunwa dance, Sawa, Jawa, Tunwa, said the Kaba Sumchi or Saja Tunwas. Sawas and the Salamna, Saja Salamna, did it to Kalan was on the just Chaburu, she did Jikdo Sayajorwa, on did it to be chickens of ballet, Jeda, Denis and Sawas. Jawa Lamna, there's Lobu Tuburush, Lobu Jorwayaji. Korang members and Lobu Jorwa, low in this Jawas. None a short down to Tuparu Jorwa, then a short down Tupa that is Jawas. The Tua and the Korush, Tumas, just not done to get G to Korik. Then she's a Sayad, answer Sayad, the Chopa, and the Lobu, and Kor Yanimba, then Rigmon will ratchet Sa, Ja, Tumas, Sa said, Sawas, and the Dus Kala Chopirik. Jawa said the Dus Loburik, Chopurame, Low, Kor Yama image, Loburik. And the Tunwala then did the Kor Yanyari, the Kor, Benanzuki, Hindo, Koda, Omada, then they record Yorwa, then they on the rand, on the nigger, on Chita Puyegi, Damanzuki, Zed, and this raw Jike, Tunwada, Sawana, such as Jawa, this Chazal Road, bottom member you take it. This obey Juicy was you and Chick Sawa, some year. And Lulia bear must say, Digi Punson so Jung to Yagi, never eating it.
In English, we have drink and nourishing food. So nourishing, so this needs to be understood more broadly. The Tibetan mentions three varying offering substances. The first being solid food, the second being, perhaps we can say, moist food, for example, something like yogurt, and the third would be liquid food, like a light soup, and as well as drink. So those two would be combined. Liquid food and drink being the third, the second moist food, and the first solid food. So all these, with the flavors of all of these, is what is being offered. And when received, a blissful physical sensation arises.
And the nigger the Puja Chidang, then a Kebardo, Lada Mi, says Lumbopung, said Lada Mi, Aranzuki, Migi, and a me, Sahaton Yagi, Rich Yorwa, the Neki Milia, Ribu, Yaku Punson Soba. And then Mazal Hadi Chegi, and the Chig Zayadoya, the Negi, Karayan, the Negi, Punson Soba. This was Chazada, the Negi, Chazai, Lada Mi, says Lumbo Ponsum, the Lumbo sitting on the Rigel Lumbo and Zemlin Alia, Richesho, the Sigurwa, Richesho, Dina Shinje, Chembo, Show Mambo Pungje, the Nunuroji, Kajera member, Show, the Gandhi, Saji Chazan, the Negi Gandhi Yoba, which I'll do Shin Mebache or Jenny Pugo, Yajere. The Roja Judan said Sajatunwas and Jidan Sherwada, just did Roja Sajatua, me as a girl, he is there, do as a girl, Jidan Shigo, what is it? Nadilla Jidan Shin and then Chasan share. How about the another to me down, Ada, the two long gets here, Saja Ponson Sopati.
What's been described here with drink and nourishing food of 100 flavors refers to the offering substances in general. If you want to be more specific, we'd say in particular those of humans and gods, or delicacies of gods and men, as it says here. So these are again the offering substances, and we visualize or imagine them heaped together like a huge mountain. Or as the text says, we have at Mount Meru, it should rather be like Mount Meru. So if Mount Meru, this mythical mountain, but you just imagine a massive pile like a huge mountain of these offering substances, of delicacies of humans and men, humans and gods, as comprising of the three types of food: the solid, liquid, and moist, and these together with all their flavors being offered.
Denege dan denege saya dunya dike pusum chopa denege ba ji dene junse zamya de chi sawe na lamsa lülia an ji ne ji lülia digi pusum chopa ge tuye ge nyuba yede dene ji ji puye ne ya ane ya chosen dike le puye de an chosen dike la dike pa xie xie la dike le ya na ga ji 초신게 라디솔이야 아니지 류리야 저게 한기게 대화 침배 이시디게 예송한 선비게 도시는 매바시 오래지 송도.
When we offer, we also imagine that the beings in the merit field, great joy, great bliss arises within their bodies as we make these offerings to them, and they enjoy the delicious aroma and flavors.
다데네 나 셀라피 잘와 다데네 안다 로마틱이 보이 러시아틱이 피야데 다 셀라마서는 셀라 쉐산데 쇼냥한즈네 다지바 데모라 다시 참다시 앞으로 타셔로 안디서 디로쇼 와당네 다데네 시티가라스네 안나소 로마 제라 타예르 주외 단연 유르베 서숨갱스 자디레.
Coming to the next verse then, the 30th verse, the offering of music. Music from an endless variety of various instruments fills the three realms.
나소 로마 제라 타예레스는 나소 로마 시디 로마틱이 빼지 나가 먹부여디게 빼네 직나동야다 신년조야다 비와다 링부세야다 데네게 당은 점리 나려 직데네게 직 로마 직다 하다 미 로마다 하래 헤이 로마다 데네 요로 하다 미 로마 데네게 나서 봐도 매봐 여봐자 나서 로마 안 데서 봐 로마디게 베제 땅인데 갑려야 제다 지 타예레 중에 단연 규베 사슴게서 데네게 로마디게 차사 레레레야 제다서도 코라 레레레야 아니 직다 미라 타예봐 봐도 매봐 자 타예봐 타예레 데네게 제다 타예바지 로마 제다 타예바지가 될래야 준비게 단연디게 담미도 가가가서 같이 배 준비 데네게 다디게 중요해 안다지 파 엔줄 고에 당디 년보쇼 제 다디 파 암줄로 고바 고요 좀 일리야 라신이 매베 가디게 해야지 데니지 단연디게 도시 여바 삼데 디안에 뉴뉴 많이 바자 사den가 사차산 강에 예디 봐서 도시는 삼단 피고래제.
Here again, like with all the verses, the offering that is being made is as extensive as our imagination enables us. So here we think about various instruments. So the explanations in the order of the Tibetan. So the first term is various instruments. So here we think of the wide variety of instruments within the human world that we are aware of, and imagine as well as all those that gods play that we aren't aware of. And then an endless variety would refer to the endless variety of the sounds that they make. So this is what is being offered, and the sounds are of a beauty beyond compare. So all these varying instruments playing together create a sound with a beauty that is beyond compare. And as with the previous offerings, it's vast and expansive, filling up the realms of space, as it says here at the end of the verse, filling the three realms. So this then is the offering in the 30th verse.
다데네 안지 수자 지로 라자스 푸야디레 다데네 안네 수자 지로 라자 베진비 지나뒤에 라메 초근 캬세데.
The 31st verse, goddesses of outer and inner desire objects, holding symbols of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, pervade all directions.
디 숙세디 저기 멜론로래 멜론 수년샤야기 멜론 다지게 수스tin 멜론 배숙 네 숙지 멜론체 근데 드라스도다 비왕도 비왕 세치 디나다 형도하는 디네 신이로 지산 대신엘나 수다지로라자 디나도 여르데 이나데 델 믹스 로스치 푸기도 자자제 디세디 안다데디 야 가소레 저기 지게 둥가라 나래 되는 루지 한지 여러 디세디가 주야로 지레다 디 루이 되는게 디 만지세 안에 로세디 한지간저 야 나서 사이동에 로지레 근데 자샤세는 안 저기다 디 돌로 괴로래 안되네시네 안데서 수자지 로자자 근데 배진 배신대야 안에 배세대 바도메바 안에 누버침보 배데서 야 안에 지기 지 래파 잠기 안에 될야 지 루심ля 디기 바도메바 게토야 누버여 되겠지
Goddesses of outer and inner desire objects holding symbols of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch pervade all directions. So the symbols what is being held up as offerings will be symbols of the sense objects of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So, for example, that of sight will be a mirror, that of sound is a lute. So and of touch will be clothing. So these are what are being held up and offered. And we have one word missing in the English that describes all five, and that would be can be translated as they would be of splendor or magnificence. These objects that are being offered. So perhaps you could say holding magnificent symbols of sight, sound, smell, taste. So you can insert one word there.
내가 지난 뒤에 하면 최근 캡스데 치세데 치다 낭생이도와 치세데 다대지데냐 최후에들이 당봉아서 되지 녀일데 최해 샤세 메도 두베 마미 디 셰세 로모 안에제 안에 로모체 되는 마는 양수저지로자자 라소바 디수차사 치셔바 치체 나디 낭세데 나디소야 두시는 자지 부현지어로와 다들 최별하면 자자래. 예. 최별하면 최고 부결하면 최별하면 대지 부여주어 샵세메도 두베 마메 디셰서 로마라 소바 야 부리 두시는 야자 부현지어로와 어디 차선 최별하면래. 최별하면래. 지사 대지 치세도 대시기 안에 저기 최 샤세메도 두베 마메 디셰서 로마라 소바 부여기 제디기 부여디 치세 부야게 치료 쳐봤지 나 낭세디 디야자 부경이 최별하모들에 디야자지 부경이 최별하모시를 되라 하모 여러와 추야자지 부경 매도자지 부경 여러와 대세미수 최별하모시를 제가 낭기연 낭세디레스 될고고 낭 될에 치다 낭세도와 제가 치세디 라모디 다 치세도 쳐봐되지 낭세도 가르스는 하모 최별하모 되기 부비 qab려야 최별하메게 넘줄 수기 아니 구샵제 다 지금 제 류긴 지어와 안데 대설은 낭기 쳐봐서 그래 근데 피네 야고지 부모들 야 선배네 야고요 말아 피디 qab려야 안지 장마 류되 라과다 류다 장마 안지 야고지 구샵지 부야기 류기 넘줄 되니게 즉 된지 피디 qab려야 즉 미가서 미제도 qab려야 즉 양아서 이나 파와 잘라 제도 qab라 미 넘줄 야고 된지 구샵다 야고지 제번에 가랑 중고로와 제바 임발라 야고지 맞대와 넘줄 야고 매와지 제번에 아직 가랑라 리요마 데데 테스트 배지 미디기 넘줄 독자 휴지 된 제선 선배 섬리거로와 제가 넘줄 야고 된 제도 남주 될라든 되면들 될라야 가상라 시켜줘로와 제산 최별 한모디기야 최제디게 자지 피디급려야 류게 남주다 되니게 안지게 토네 양지 류게 장자다 남주 토네 안디 디야 최버 표현될 qabla 될라데냐 안 가서 소신디게 야 류가 류심 가서 구송 투시 배지 ram me ba ka so re 디기 빠도 매버 기투에게 제사 데네자디 난기 쳐봐서지 치낭을 제사 치사 낭세 근데 뒤엔 다디디 뒤엔세 다디디 지가도 치 뒤엔다 난기 뒤엔세 디실 대 라면 초건 캡세데 되는 라모 데니기 퓨겐 라모디기 초건 차산에 캡되어지 데니기 최제 야야지 퓨디 퓨겐기 라모기 바 초건의 차산에 캡되어지 빠도 매바 여바 주시네 아니 퓨기에서 매바지 그래제 제 뒤에서 대디 치 쳐봐도 뒤에 난게 쳐봐도 제서 뒤 뒤엔 뒤래다 치다 낭사 저로와 치 뒤에 난게 뒤에 세월다
The verse so for us that starts with goddesses of outer and inner desire objects. These offering goddesses are who make the actual offerings. So we visualize the varying substances that are being offered. So we had the varying substances, and they are being offered by offering goddesses. So we just have the word goddess, with the fuller word would be offering goddesses, and they are the ones carrying the objects being offered to the merit field. And what is meant by outer objects refers to the symbols of sight, sound, smell, or sight, one could be form, sound, smell, that are being offered. So those are the outer substances, as well as what we covered before, water, flowers, incense, lamps, perfume, and taste. These are all outer objects that are being offered. And the inner objects, this refers more to the way the offering is being made, that is being expressed through the offering goddesses. So the illustration of the inner offering, or the example of the inner offering, are the offering goddesses. So why are the offering goddesses an illustration or an instance of an inner offering? So what is the inner offering is, for example, in our everyday life, if we give something to someone and we do so with a pleasant expression that comes from a good motivation, a kind mind, for example, it is a far better offering and will be received quite differently than if we make an offering with a frown on our face and an angry expression coming from an upset mind. So the inner offering refers to the quality of the mind making the offering, the quality of the mental attitude, which is then expressed in the form of the offering goddesses, who would be very pleasing in terms of their facial expression and so forth. And then desire objects, maybe a clearer way, it would be all that is desirable within the desire realm, or another way would be all worldly goods and pleasures. So all that is really desired or wanted or liked within the desire realm. These are the objects being offered.
ane sutra diro raja dege ane chi tuyensi roa da deso jeda chuyen dege chu ba kya shang dele chu dege pa kya chuyen kya gan dele chube lamo pa do me ba yoba che me do kya gan dele chube lamo pa do me ba yoba andi na jin dugbe da reme ba de chuje le kya ba ge de ya chuje Bātū mēbā yōba yīnzā, āni chūbē lāma dī yā yākhān bātū mēbā yōtiñ chāgarwa. Chidān chūbē lāma kī pūyē kī lū kī namgyūr dā, dēni kī, dā dī, āni dē, āni nāngi tuyāns, nāngi tuyāns. Chidān chī tuyān dā nāngi tuyāns ādi rē. Chidān chī tuyāns ādi pūyē kī dzē tē. Yā chūbē lāma kī yā rē rē kia chāni lū kī namgyūr dā, namgyūr sāngbō tuyān chī pūyē kī namgyūr kī tēlā tēnē āni pūyē namgyūr tī kī, dā nāngi tuyāns āchī. Chidān dēni kī 니게 야시 베게다 쉐벨 하모게 초 타제 차선에 캡되게 지금 야치 뭐 쉬우셔 가지고 그거 돼서 제가 낭 부에기 최제되게 치 뒤인스도 대진이를 해야 되게 자산지 뒤로와 제가다 치 뒤인 뒤수야지 낭기 뒤인서야지 되니기 최제 자산 레레야 되게 최별함하게 최별함하게 류기 남주되게다 뒤서 송거로와.
So what we're reading here in the 31st So the 31st verse we can understand as being perhaps a summary of what is explained or presented before, in that what is presented in the 31st verse applies to the preceding verses 23 to 30, in that offering goddesses make each of these offerings, they emanate from oneself, making these offerings to the merit field before oneself. So it's not that one comes to the 31st verse and at this point offering goddesses are employed. Rather, they have been offering water, they've been offering flowers, they've been offering incense and so forth. And they have been doing so, do we have innumerable? Yeah, goddess, pervade all directions. So in other words, with each of these offerings, limitless offering goddesses emanate from oneself, making the offerings of first water, later flowers, thereafter incense, and so forth. So each time one made these preceding offerings, it was done by innumerable offering goddesses. And in this way, with those preceding offering verses, one was not only making outer offerings of, for example, water, but was also doing so with the inner offering of which is being expressed through the offering goddesses.
가시고 구자야다 지지다마 잔두스견 네 방레네 고도 방레 부이신 부고로와 제가 직부산 지젤 직부지고로 지나 니네 부견한테 차사마 짜진 차사빈이야 방리 되지고로 와데 지상도 신는데 마 직시 등이 이제 야 부도 와든 댄쇼 갑려 안딘 하신 와다원이 또 최별 한번 되게 최세되게 빠도 매바 짜지도 신슈데 봐 여바체 안데서 부여들 방림제의 부여지로 제거로 와.
I'm sure many of you have attended long life pujas for His Holiness or Lama Chöpa, and you'll know then at one point a long line of people form before the Lama with carrying varying substances which they are offering. So this in a way is similar to what is being done here, although what we're visualizing here wouldn't be a long line, but rather an innumerable mass of offering goddesses making each of these individual offerings. So we may not have actually seen offering goddesses making offerings, but we can use as a basis what we have observed in long life pujas. But just to be clear, here the offering goddesses aren't lining up, rather they're mass pervading the sky, making the offerings. Of course, the more one offers, the more merit one generates. So here one visualizes as expansively as possible in order to create ever more merit, to speed our attainment of our accumulation, our gathering of the two accumulations, so as to bring enlightenment ever closer.
Chopa 오당한 저기 되네 푸겐 야한 로보 고스는 실로는 게 다샤버지 멤버체 되네게 멤버체 다대야 하는 거 디시도 하데 다대 아 저기 데 라마 쳬바 디가서 다지 동니고 소소라 동반이 삼다 동니고 곰네 두검네데 동반이 또 루용 안에 소소 두건 봐 최별 한번 쬐다 최별 한번 쬐된 최세되게네 동반이 또 루 임바실라 남바 최세 남바제 두스 푸이사 내 푸이사네 아 최별 한번 되게 소소 수간 수팀 닝닝한테 팀 소서 매바 양지 최바지 푸이야 두건 봐 최별 한번 봐도 매바 주시네 되는 최발에 말매 약간 봐도 매바 지금 변이 매도 장 봐도 매바 푸이 되네 야제 푸이사르실에 양초뒤 양데네치네 직도시네 삼당고래서 되가스네 딘디송도와
Whilst in the long life puja, there's quite some organizing before to have a large number of people who are going to help and line up in the right order. In this puja, that's not needed. Because rather than relying on friends and companions, we rely on our wisdom realizing emptiness, our wisdom understanding emptiness. Because the merit field has arisen from our wisdom understanding emptiness, so too have the offering substances as well as the offering goddesses which emanate from our heart. And we have with each offering, so in verse 23 and again in 24 and again in verse 25, with each offering, offering goddesses emanate from our heart. We visualize them making offerings to the merit field and then returning into and dissolving into our heart. Then we move to the next verse from the 23rd to the 24th, and once again our wisdom understanding emptiness is expressed as the offering goddesses who then go and offer the substance to the merit field. All of this, the offering goddesses, the offering substance, the merit field, all arise from our understanding of emptiness. Having made the offering and the offering being joyously received, the offering goddesses once again dissolve into our heart, and then we repeat the process now for the third verse, offering of flowers, the verse 25. And so we continue with a sequence of visualizations.
Mande puya dire, da mande de chobare, onju de da chobare, da mande puya dire, da mande puya de la mandela, da jike, juzu na kor mande jabaro shi puya chi sungdo, de mene dingo ko chi kor, don da la mande re, da chi dire, jawa chaji, linshu lumboche, rinjin de da niwe rinjin so, gunga kibe, neju punzo so, la me longju de ge der shenbo, da ye senje pulju xingye jo, jebon tuji de la ulor ki yesaje.
That then concludes the outer offerings. Now we move into the second offering, if we gather those together as the outer offerings, and we come to the mandala offerings, so verse 32. So here, one can, if time is a little short, do this recitation, or if one has more time, one can offer a full mandala. So the verse, so here just to say before Gemla's explanation comes, the word order of the Tibetan and English is really not the same. The English is very mixed. So in the explanation afterwards, you'll just have to pay attention as to where we are. Refuge protectors, treasures of compassion, eminent and supreme field of merit with pure compassion, I present to you 1,000,000,000 times over Mount Meru and the 4 continents, the 7 precious royal emblems, the precious minor symbols and more, perfectly delightful environments and their beings, and a great treasure of all that gods and humans use or desire.
다들 만데 푸디 갑도 쳐푸야디 잠블링 달링전 차상을 제와차 차상 여봐 지 푸이 차상 푸이셔고 푸야디래다 뭐고 다들 푸야디 제사다 제와차지 링실 안 딩엘도 쉐샤나.
In the preceding verses where we made the outer offerings, we were offering specific substances, and whilst the quantity was vast and expansive, there were specific things being offered. Here, in the mandala offering, one is offering all that exists in the universe.
on the Jawa Chaji Linju Rinpoche said, Jawa Chaji Hanzuki, that Zembling di Dela, and then Tisha, and then Zembling did and did with Jawa Chaji or Resur, Jawa Chaji, and Dela have been around the Zembli Dele in Baina, Chatinaya, and then Medoda, Dubeda, my meda, she said, Roma loss about the Lada, me say, Hanzo Bejita Medo, Dumrang, and then Shina Yaku, and then Jan Chu. Many water choose Babu Yapo, then they choose Zing Yapoda, then they get Shingi Dondo, then they get Pusum Soba, and Jelia, and Jig Jinganzuki Madon, Tacho Rinpoche, that says I did Mangocho Raja, then they get Chasa, Zamlinalia, you say Tamjig Chasaya, and the Puva Chasa, Puyade. That Pu Muba Chanchari Groda, Duke Robuda, Disorwada, Duke Zero. Suppoline Dukes at your Wadizot, your Marada, Sanjari, that is a maid. That the men big Shanda, you also saw Puva Chasa, and this is Zemlina Liova. Dina Shinda, Jawa Taji, Zemli Dina Shin, Din Bajik, Jawa Bautumeva, your Wada, Benazo Garso, Chevade, Dina Bautu, Dinaji, Garso, Mambura, Dinaji, or Dina Shinda, Jawa Taja, and Jawa Ling Relia. Ling Jawa Chaja, Ling Relia, and Choshi, Choshi, Samji, Chegarua. Ling here, Temple, Sharo, Nupjang, and then Shajan, San Nujan, Samji, Choshi, Samji, Ziaroa, on Dinashin, that Nimalina, Nimal Choshi, Samji, Dawala, Gamma, Din Ziaroa, Jeza, Linga, Ling Delia, Temple Ling Jet, the nigger, Tepiki, Ling Jawa Chaja, Ling Relia, and Chige. Gasore, Choshi Samye Yoba, and the Tennessee, Jeza, Jawa Chaji, Linshi, said that Lumbo said, Lumbo said, the Ulia, and the Riki was upset the Shigur, the Lumbo, Zoro, Shediba, on the Nigga Chasa, Jediba, Gilia, and Jiggy, Tezu Chasa Rinpoche down, and the Jig Meadoda, Jiggy, Zela Sopa, the Niggy. Bado meba Dendo la Soba, Shingde la Soba, and Rinpoche Rikda, Serda, Ueda, Sada, Jada, Denegida, Nangazugida, Semje, Jiki Denegi, Rigla Soba, Bado meba Chasa Yoba, Dene Mebashine, Puya Regi, Pugo Regere. That on the Monday gave a do, and Chasa La Yorubada, Chesada Dina Dushaba and Zandinigi, Dushine, Pu, some Mebache or Regere.
Verse starts in Tibetan with 1 billion times over Mount Meru and the 4 continents. Those of you who've offered the mandala, the full mandala, the 37 heap mandala, will be aware of what's being referred to here in abbreviated form, and you make several heaps relating to what is being mentioned here, the continents and the subcontinents of Mount Meru. But in brief, what the meaning is, all that is beautiful and wonderful in our world, both the natural world and what has been created, all of this is offered. And not only what we have experienced in our world, but all that there is in our world, and not just this world, but throughout all worlds, and not just those which are inhabited by beings, but those which are also uninhabited. So whether it's stars and planets, all these world systems perhaps, as well as the beings within all of these world systems, as well as all that these worlds contain that is beautiful and wondrous. This is all that is offered. Where there are things that have been created which are harmful, these are not offered. So poisons and weapons, these are not offered. But rather, all the beings throughout the world, and all that is desirable and good throughout the worlds, throughout the universe, this is what is offered here. In the second line in the Tibetan, for us, the 7 precious royal emblems. So these, again, you'll recognize from the 37 heap mandala. The precious wheel, the precious jewel, the precious queen, the precious minister, precious elephant, precious horse, and the precious householder. These are the 7 precious royal emblems. That was the 7 precious royal emblems, the precious minus symbols. So those then refer to a precious sword, hide, bedding, garden, house, garments, and shoes.
And Jewa Trash Jache, Delia, Ling Ten Gela Sopata, Di Dona Rinpoche, Noble Rinpoche, Duena, Never Rinpoche Chasa, Yoba, Dinepu, the Chasane, Gunga Gibi, Nuju Punsum so, Gunga said, Tada mi, Su Tovana, Kalang, Yet Dele, Ya Galana, Ye, Tuigi, Nubi, you begin, Deneki, Nuetan, Juice, Nurse, and that is Linsheda Jeba, Nuetire, Judina, and Dinale Dukenda, Chiki, Mida, Alhada, Mida, Denegi, and Jaridala Sopa Yorba, Denegi, Niju Pusum Sopa, Tesuya, and Chiki. Gunga Yebi is the Su Tomba in Neb, Chik, Lada, Mida, Su Davine, and Chik Galana Yobachita. And Denia and Gunga City, Hachik, Queen said in Hajuki, Sosukibo, the Simjin, Sosukibo Kazata, and the Pabe Gaza, Su Tomba in there, Deniki, Deji Puyaki, Denis Delia, and the Galana Kituyak in Nuba Yabasi, then in Niju Punsun Sopachi.
The third line in the Tibetan, perfectly delightful environments and their beings. So here, this is referring to what is being offered. So all the offerings that you are visualizing and making here are everything that is magnificent throughout the worlds, that whomever experiences them or observes them, whether an ordinary person such as ourselves or even an Arya being, it would bring great joy and delight to them, to their minds. So all this is being offered.
Ne Pusun Sopas, the Sajiti, and the Chikitishi, Rigabo, Rington, Denis Katchen, the Chasa, the Chik Sajiti, Mase Yahuta, Deniki, Ninchi were some Dairua, and the Jews, Dena Nebigi, Mida, Semjanda, Ada, Kadishna, Midikine, Tisu Chasa, Samba Sambo, and Jig Nube Samba, the Kodoso Medic, Chasa Samba Sambo, Yahushu, Yoba, some down wretched, Pusun Sopa do some, Deniki, some danger. And
all that is being offered here is seen as perfect, faultless. As well, and the beings therein that are being offered, all the ordinary beings too, are being offered in a kind-hearted form, free of manifest afflictions such as anger. So therefore, everything that's being offered is free of harmful things such as weapons and poison, as well as manifest afflictions. No one that is being offered is angry, but rather all the people, all the beings that are being offered are kind-hearted, wise, and gentle.
And this Ju Punsun Sobala, the Samba Sambu, Mida Hada, and Dundokaina Dinasha, that there's a quarter over the Dizon Part B said, Dinner some diomar. Dinanda, you can send Jen Ganich in a Chasada, Jiki, Samba Sambota, Shenley, Pembe, somebody, Zivi, somebody, you can, Yanga, some more.
Just to be clear, it's not that those who are strongly habituated to, for example, anger or animals that kill a lot, that they're now just being ignored and they don't matter. Not at all. But rather, all beings are being offered, but they are in a state of mind that is loving and kind and wanting to be of benefit to others.
Lonju Punso, Yan Chapardo Papa, the Jing and the Dutch Chitamar, that the name Chapardo Pavel Hangazel, Lay Lonju Punson Sopa, and me Lonju Punson Sopa, and Jigan, Nangazo Lonjele, Sayatuya, Rikwanya, Ripejeta, Jik Medo, Dumrala Sopa, Karena Gelada, me Lonju Jiki, and Denegi, 가래이나 되고 풍선 소바 가래나 중되게 되네第二 첨보시데 되네게 되스 렌진데 되네 조로야 많이 받지 지 약보라지나 되스 그 베지 땅에 조로야 저 디면 받지 第二 첨보 같이 레나 조에 메되 베지도 같이 베지 조에 메되 뽕샤고 요第二 첨보 유요 받지 되네게다 제와 차기 리줄보다 제바 되네게 요바 삼다제 아니 두스치는 부야 되지래.
The fourth line in the Tibetan, a great treasure of all that gods and humans use or desire. This then refers to all that is, all resources that gods and humans use, as well as everything that is seen as desirable. This is what is offered. And a great treasure means that in the same way that the value of a great treasure would be inexhaustible, so too all that is being offered here, all resources and all that is desired that is being offered, is inexhaustible.
당위의 셈지 당위의 셈지 불준신의 개관 두지들 올라가기서 당위의 셈지세대 다 부디급래 셈데 빼셈 갈라 전에 당위의 셈지 부고래제 가르쳤는다 디링이 빼다 직접이 소신 되길야 만들이야 되네 부여 빼면서 야고 쉬우 중소 승의 셈전 탐지게 되나야 안지게 셈전 탐지 디기 주야다 동아 세예게 된다 셈전 탐지게 되다가 사지고 봐 토비게 된다야 되네기 부여라와디 빼면서 야고려지 가고 디링 고합 쉬우 야고라서 선비게 되네지네 빼지 당위의 셈지 갈라 가고 쉬우 전에 부고래지래.
Then in the English, in our second line, we have a term translated as pure faith. So what this, perhaps a more accurate way to translate it would be to have a pure intention. And it refers to the motivation with which we are engaging in this entire practice, which is that for the sake of all beings, I am engaging in this practice so that I can create vast stores of merit which will directly aid my spiritual development and thereby aid and benefit all sentient beings. So this is the pure intention, the pure motivation with which we are engaging in this practice.
나랑 고도데 지기네 마피나 지금도 선비게네 푸야시오로와다 이 당에 섬나 차고 말와 내내게 진짜 내내 멤버체 안지 당에 쌤 딩네 파베 질려 다시 빼 야고 쉬우죠 선비 갈라 푸야데 내내게 푸야라와데 배마서 야고 쉬우였으면 갈라나 진짜 푸고래서 나 푸예게 제되게 대시 제와 차질이 줄은 뭐지 린주도나 예 공약이 변주 하면 런지되고 때신 봐서 푸예게 제되 됐어도지 다 삼노딜이야 푸이디갑을 삼노딜이야 배 갈라나지 배 제가고 쉬우진 부야 다외 셈바지 다외 셈 부야 디레.
What we've covered up to this word that we have in English as pure faith, the first 4 lines of the verse in the Tibetan cover the substances or the what is being offered, the offering substances. Now in the 5th line of the Tibetan, we start looking at the attitude with which one makes the offering. So the first word in the 5th line in the Tibetan is what we have here as pure faith, which can be translated as pure intention, can also be translated as a sincere heart. And perhaps keep both in mind for the meaning, pure intention as well as a sincere heart, in that we know that sometimes we've made offerings, such as offer to help someone and so forth, when our heart hasn't really been in it. So that is not what is not the motivation with which we should be engaging in this practice. Our heart should be in it. We should be engaging in this practice with a sincere heart or a pure intention. And that is a clearer translation than pure faith. So now in the 5th line in the Tibetan, we're looking at the mind or the motivation with which we are making the offering, and that starts with what we have here as pure faith.
델리아 불중신이 초세대 불세의 유용한저들이 개비세다 소신되게래 불중세대 다 불중신이 초세대 다 불루중화라도 개발도 파파시고래 지산 소사신의 최고 부예의 유망고 예배 난에다 소신되게 라마되게 나 소신 최고 부세 유 개발도 파파되래서 결혼 소신도 유 개발도 파파이스 다 신기 초세도 신 랍도 아주 던돌마 다에 신가시고로 신가 될 때네 제부 먹고 계셔로와 제산데네자 라마디 아주 대시 초신디 라마랴 초푸이 초신디게 최부서 초시 유코로 신기 안솔려 선음 사야기 신초도 유발해서 신초도 유발 제산데네 부부에나 될 때네 아주 선음 빠도 메바 개침마 사도면자 신초도 유발 제산 초신디게 최부푸이게 유 개발도 파봐 아는 아주 선음 사바의 유 안에 신 선음 사바의 유 신디 신초도 유발해서지 도스네
So thus far, we first looked at what is being offered. Secondly, we've just looked at the offering intention. And now to whom the offerings are made. So this is still in the fifth line of the Tibetan. For us, it's at the beginning. Eminent and supreme field of merit. So this is to whom the offering is being made. The word eminent, we can understand here as being perfect or accomplished, or really that there is none like you. And this is now referring to the field of merit. That's the eminent in the sense of none like you. And then supreme in that the merit field is a supreme field in which merit is grown. There is no greater field in which one can create merit. So that's now referring to the objects to whom one is making the offerings.
델리아 불중세의 개발도 봐봐라 그러와. 대대 불중 신기 쳐서 불중세의 개발도 봐봐라 그래. 된다래 개발도 봐봐라 그래. 델리아 대신에 가서는 가르쳐 개발했으네. 아니 아주기 최고 부수 유디 유소신되게 최고 부수 유망부 예배 나는 개발도 봐봐라 해서지. 야 소신 야지 않는 시로와 대신에 해야 돼. 너무 해야 돼.
Just to talk further on the term eminent. So this is referring to the varying objects to whom we're making offering, the various beings within the merit field. So another way to express eminent, more literal way, would be as being perfect and accomplished. So here, with this term, we're recognizing the perfect accomplishments of the beings to whom we are making the offering, the beings within the merit field.
신초 세대 대대 개뷰되게 신초래서든 나주규라 연된계야다 선음이 쌓아야지 아니 결혼 초신되게 초도 규발에 제단 라마 이담 초신 될 때네 이규라는 선음 빠도메 바사도 연된 빠도메 바 장투고 제장이 규라 연된계야다 선음 쌓아야기 신디 초신계를 결혼 되네게 선음 쌓아야 돼. 신 망부 열되네 약쇼들에서 그러와 배는 저게 샘제질이야 칼라지 때문에 이내 가서 선음 쌓고와 이내 선음 쌓고 때네 칼라 제비기 콜리아 제비기 선음 쌓고마다 양 공기 가서야 랍제 잡지 롭종 대장아들이야 연대 첨부 선음 쌓아가요 말와다 이 든저들 칼라 때문에 다양한 아주 초신기들이야 라마랴 초푸베이나 라마텔 초푸용베칼라 쇠남 빠도며 사마제 라미기 안들이야 안지게 최송제 니 아주 자제 안들 연대 빠도며 봐 산제고와 토토에게 냠는 빠도며 레투요 반자 안 신초도 규발해서 쇠남사 신초도 규발해서.
To talk further then on the term supreme in field of merit. So the reason why there are many fields in which one can accumulate merit. For example, one can offer food and sustenance to animals, and this is a great thing to do, and merit is accumulated. But that the quantity of merit that is accumulated is nothing compared to what is accumulated when offering to one's Lama, Yidam, and Buddhas in the form of the merit field. So much more merit is created, hence supreme. Also, in terms of the benefit and resulting developments that comes from strengthening our connection with the merit field, as opposed to the suffering animal, is also vastly different. Because the beings in the merit field, the Lama, is the one who is guiding us perfectly in accordance with our unique personalities to enlightenment. And whilst it's good, not just good to do, it's imperative, one helps suffering beings. But it is our Lama and that's connection with him that is required for us to transform our minds, to spiritually develop. Because it's only our Lama who is teaching and guiding us how to become the most skilled of guides and to help all beings in the most important of ways. And other fields of merit cannot help us in that way or guide us in that way.
And then the Puljung said, the Xing of the Chosin Lia Jaji, Chapel Papa, the Puljung said, Yadona Chile, Manzuli Chana Jigore, Anzuki, Sunam Sayadilla. Sunam Baudu meba Pulushimba, Sunam Baudu meba Sayadi. Just a Lama Chöpa Dine, Manzukula, Sunam Baudu meba Sayagi, Sayravadi, Sayagi, Xing Chotu, but Lama Chöpa is. Puljung said, Anzukula, Kawa Baudu meba, Scarson Anzuki, that Anzu Yamlin Chidukabla, Bene Kiawachima, and Lada Muko, Tovia Zam Kawasaya Yore. Tabada Tamje Kimbi, Tabi Goba, Zam Toye, Gawasa Yore, that Tamje Kimboba, that de la Lama Chöpa Puja, Simjan Tamji Dondalea, and Jig Dombanya, some down to Chinchik, Passion to Yamna, some died, and Simjan Tamji Sanjoko, new to be Childu, and so Chöpa Puja by that, then Anzu, Simjan Tamji, the Sanjoko, Toyegi, so Gashimushu Segurua, Chizan so. Gewachima Hada Mugo, some Gewachumi, Toya Zamgi, and the Gawa Dedang, Tabazam Toya Gawa Dilejabana, Semjatam Sanjoko Toyagi, Sunam di, Batum by Gachimu Childra, is a Puljum Capital Papa. Gewachima and Hada Mugo, Zam Toya Gawa Dang, Tabazam Toya Gawa Le, that it Chotu Cuba, Pulujuba de la Lava Meva. Just Denegi Gawa Gachambodi, Puljo, Nikula, Dinesaya Ravadi, Lama Chorong de la Saya, which is a Lama Chorong, Nidine Gawa Gachimo Sayagi, and Xing Chotu. Said Ya, Puljo said Sosu Gawalacha, Xing Chotia, and a chica social partus, Dakshanagore.
Eminence and supreme field of merit. So eminence then refers to these incomparable qualities within the merit field, within the beings within the merit field. And it's because of their incredible qualities and our recognition of their qualities that they are a supreme field for the accumulation of merit. So here we're approaching this from two perspectives. One is we're recognizing the incomparable qualities within the field of merit. And secondly, because of our recognition of their qualities and now engaging in this practice, the merit that we accumulate is also incomparable. So we recognizing, on the one hand, the qualities of these eminent beings, and secondly, that the amount of merit that we create is incomparable. And in particular, the merit that we create to aid good rebirths in our future lives, and a rapid attainment of liberation and enlightenment for the sake of others. So it's because of these eminent qualities within the field of merit and our recognition thereof that they are the supreme field of merit, and we accumulate supreme amounts of merit.
야 마 격고이 동al 마 겹제 람된제 조지디 기간줄이야 람된제 제사 람냠네 림바 땡아주 냠네 제발에 되네 고이 동al에 겹고 고이 동al에 타고로 와 되는자 나가 라마 조지디 하는 아주 고이 동아 타달에 겹비기 라마 결혼 겹이 인세 겹리에서다 되는 권세디 당한도 고려 탈바다 탐지 캠비가 람려 치겐지 람된지 야산교고 발려 치겐자 람 땡해 인자들 잡다 고현지에서 지상 고려 동안 타달을 결혼에 겹고도 진짜 결혼한 적 겹이인스 아니 자랑기 간도 샘자 탐지 고려 동안에 자지 야산교고 방토비 산교고 혼을 치고도 진짜 치고자 결혼한 적 고현지에서 아니 겹다 고현지에서 아니 신기 초래 잡고 잡던 거이 안델레 투지기 때려 세대 다 투지 대양하는 안줄이야 제 제외원기 샘자 탐지할이야 동아 타다다 제와 선배기 제외원기 두스진의 제와디 투지기 제와디 결혼가다 샘 상기의 탐지기 투지기 제외기 단위래서 결혼 제외 단위 제위에서는 오래 했으나 제위가 오래 상계 탐지기 투제와 투제위기데 언젠가 주기 나바샤웨지 하지레스 근데 자기 세계의 신 조선의 자기 단위로 공호 자리로 제산 다디디 나도 초신디게야 초신디게 저랑 안에 상계 탐지기 닝제지요로와 닝제 투제와는 닝제지와 닝제디 니 닝제디 하는 아주리아 라미 수수 샤르 간지레스 라미 수수 때바 넘주 때바레스 주바 나바샤와치 라미 나바샤드게 뭐 되는시에스 제산디니 떼르 첨보 제유 투지 떼르 첨보드니 공오 라마 코로 투지 오 떼르 첨보 인자 아니 샬레 제유기 아니 왕게 가주 동 코와를 껴비하다 산요고 바도로 지고레스 제산 투지게 아니 떼르에스다 베네 떼르세르다 베지 교진을 줘야 매딩다 떼르스는 아주 좋아야 매딩에 지루하다 떼르라도 투지 떼르 투지 왕기 만술래 최 송제 샘전 탐저 코외 동안을 산요고바 토야기 디자인 투지기 떼르 인사지 나 소신은 그 연된 주고를 받아야 돼
Then the final line in the Tibetan, refuge protectors, treasures of compassion. The term refuge and protectors, the translation is fine. Where it gets difficult is both words can be translated as protector. So anyway, the word for refuge, that's translated as refuge, is the general word for refuge. And as the translator, I've often said going for refuge or going for protection. So here you see how the word for refuge can be translated as protector, or protection rather. And the second word is the word for protectors. But anyway, the first word then, refuge, has the meaning that our Lama, the Buddha, the Yidams, they protect us from suffering through guiding us in our spiritual development, because it is our spiritual development, the cultivation of our minds, which protects us from suffering. And it's through the Lama that we cultivate the Dharma within us, and that is what protects us. That is our refuge, that is our protection. So again, we're looking at the qualities of the merit field here. And that is their first quality of being a refuge. In other words, they protect us from suffering by guiding us to cultivate the Dharma within. Then the second term, that of protector, so this word for protector can also be translated as, it's maybe quite specific, but like a savior, or maybe a better translation would be as a helper. But the general and correct translation is that of protector, but we can understand it has the meaning of a helper. And a helper in what sense? They guide us on the path to enlightenment. That is the role of a protector, and that here is the quality of those in the merit field who are acting as protectors, in that they are guiding us on the path to enlightenment. So here we can maybe understand this protectors as a helper. And then treasures of compassion. So here there's several ways we understand this. Firstly, a treasure, as before, is seen as something inexhaustible. And the compassion of the Buddhas, of whom our Lama is one, their compassion is inexhaustible. And like a treasure, their compassion shines forth in a bright array of light. The compassion shines forth. The inexhaustible compassion shines forth, serving to bless us, or rather than bless, to inspire us to strive for enlightenment. So this then, it would be a third quality of the merit field, refuge being one, protector being second, and thirdly, treasures of compassion.
Dittonadire. Taji Gazile, Gevi, Soji, the Yunde, Kuran Shingi, Sunam Sai, Shingi, Chodo Gubare, and the Kabado Pavare, and the Kuran Gabri, Kuran and the Gabi, Kuran and the Gui, Kuran Tuji Chembuge, Mo Tuji Chembore, Jam Ninja Ongi, Ansul Nangore, Cesar, Ninji, Der Chembore, Sadi, Dustin, and Kuran Deneshi, Cesar de Solia, Anzuki, Kuranla, and Nanzuki, Deshi, that thing has to choose that is by Mande, Ninji, Denele Pugu, Sempiki Duchene. Nadandala, Soshing Kusun, Tusumi, Indian Tianche, and Delia Puya did it.
And the verse concludes with what we have in the middle of the second line, I present to you. So here, whilst we've maintained in our mind throughout the practice the qualities and kindness of our lamas, here we have explicitly recalled them to mind, the qualities of being of refuge, of protector, and treasure of compassion, this powerful and inexhaustible compassion. And because of those qualities, we are offering this mandala.
Idam Sanye Chasampo on the Chasa, de Mo Chiva Samdan Telia, and the Kusun to you, and then Teba Zeju, which the negative Puya said the Dine bottom about you, Sambiki, Duschene, and Puya did it. Gulonde, Sam Jatam Jigna, San Yokoba to be Gulo Chanjo Sem Sam Diada, and the Puya gets Zedikina, rushing to be Tomba, 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 to be Imba Jila, Imbala number, and the Cheda Ze, and Chikta Medic number Shardi by Imba, on Dusine, and Pugus and Pigida, Dusine Mabache did it. Mindu that. And they love America.
Just before I say what Genla said, we have the offering mantra here, Idam Guru Rata Mandala Kam. This isn't in the Tibetan, so hence Genla is not commenting on it. So now what Genla said.
The mu was a manipulated, manipulated, then Lama Chöpa Jelly, a manipulated, Dordu Madhyamara, manipulated, then Mabang de Yamadi, Kuruman come there, the Gabo Pinet, the good Tingurua.
And the reason that it's not in the Lama Chöpa is because here the whole mandala is being offered in an abbreviated form, just in a single verse. Of course, one can include it here if one wants, and certainly, as I mentioned earlier, one can offer the mandala in a more extensive form too. So then just what Genla said earlier. So here, having once again explicitly recalled all the qualities of the Lama, Yidam and Buddha, as well as re-energize our motivation, this kind heart or this sincere heart, we are making this offering in order to gather merit, to become a Buddha as quickly as possible within this very lifetime for the sake of all sentient beings. And this is all being done within an understanding of emptiness. The merit field before us has arisen from emptiness. The offering substances, the mandala in this case, as well as ourselves, we have all these aspects have arisen from emptiness. So this is all kept in mind. The qualities of the Lama, our motivation of bodhicitta, as well as the wisdom realizing emptiness. We'll conclude there, and we'll continue from the next verse, which is offering of your practice. So thank you very much.